Olá, pessoal, tudo bem? Sejam bem-vindos a mais uma edição do Data Talks. Esse mês a gente tem um convidado super especial, que é o Tim, e a gente vai ter uma oportunidade incrível de bater um papo com ele, tirar ótimos insights e muitos aprendizados. Bem, vamos começar aqui com a introdução. Para começar, o evento esse mês ele vai ser um pouco diferente, né? Então, a gente está gravando ele, né, previamente, por conta, né, da questão de tradução, de ser um outro idioma. Então, esse mês a abordagem ela vai ser um pouco diferente. A gente vai começar aqui com um welcome, né, um boas-vindas, que eu estou colocando aqui nesse momento. A gente vai passar por uma rodada de apresentações e, na sequência, a gente já vai entrar, então, com a entrevista com o Tim, ok? Legal. Acho que todo mundo aqui me conhece, né? Então eu vou tentar ser um pouco mais conciso na minha apresentação, mas eu sou o Newton. Eu atualmente trabalho na Ambev como Data Product Manager, basicamente numa estrutura global. Eu dou aula também em algumas universidades, sendo a principal delas, algumas delas, né? A FIAP, o Mackenzie, a Faculdade Impacta. Eu também estou, né, dentro de um programa chamado LinkedIn for Creators, que basicamente é um programa que busca, né, impulsionar criadores de conteúdo em diversos assuntos, né? Tableau Ambassador, né? Fui o primeiro Tableau Embaixador aqui no Brasil. E aqui tem um QR Code caso você queira se conectar comigo posteriormente, ok? Legal. Esse mês a gente tem, além da participação super especial do Tim, né, a parceria aí super forte, né, junto com dois caras que eu tenho muito carinho, né, que um deles é o Marcelo. O Marcelo, por acaso você não conheça ele ainda, né, busque se conectar com ele no LinkedIn. Ele é Tableau Ambassador. Ele é 5 vezes Tableau Certified, então ele tem as certificações de Tableau Specialist, Data Analyst e Associated e consultant, ok? Ele já tem uma experiência bem bacana com o Tableau, já trabalhou em algumas boas empresas, como a Wipro, a Kairos, já trabalhou na DataSide e também recentemente na No Opticals, ok? E a gente tem também a participação super especial do Saulo. Saulo é um cara muito bacana, é um cara super experiente, muito profissional mesmo. Ele tem uma experiência muito bacana também na área de analytics, com algumas empresas que ele já teve a oportunidade de passar. Eu procurei trazer aqui um pouco das principais, então ele já trabalhou na Accenture, já trabalhou na Keysoft, na Datamine e também na HCL Tech, né? Essas duas últimas, especificamente, elas são consultorias, que têm uma presença talvez mais forte nos Estados Unidos, por isso que aqui no Brasil elas não são tão conhecidas. Ele também é formado em ciências sociais, né? Então ele tem uma formação pela Universidade de Brasília e um mestrado e um doutorado também pela Universidade do Estado do Rio de Janeiro. Ok? Bacana. Vamos então agora para nossa pauta de hoje, né? Junto com o Tim. Essa conversa ela buscou, né, ser um pouco mais com grandes insights, até mais do que só sobre Tableau, né? Então a gente trouxe um pouco de alguns grandes assuntos, né, que a gente gostaria de abordar com ele, né? Como, por exemplo, dicas de carreira, de aprendizados, muitos insights e também para fechar com chave de ouro, a gente trouxe também uma pauta muito interessante sobre o ponto de vista que ele tem sobre a área de Generative AI. Então, acho que assim, é uma área super quente em 2023. Todas as Big Techs, elas estão mirando, né, o seu roadmap de tecnologia para a Generative AI. Então, a gente aproveitou esse momento também junto com o Tim para abordar um pouco mais com ele sobre o ponto de vista que ele tem sobre esse assunto. E aí, então, vamos para o bate-papo com ele, né? Eu acho que vai ser um assunto muito interessante para vocês.
Hi everyone! It is a pleasure to announce that today we're gonna have a chance to talk to Tim Ngwena. Tim runs a YouTube channel with more than 15,000 subscribers, which is an amazing number for someone that is creating a technical content, not comics, not sports, but a technical content. So it's a huge mark. Tim became famous in Tableau community through the videos that showcase the new features. So every new Tableau release, Tim created a playlist with all the new features, and then he record very easy to follow along videos. So if you want to keep updated with new stuff in Tableau, Tableau team is definitely the right place to go. It is a pleasure to talk to Tim Ngwena. Welcome, Tim. How are you doing?
Hello, hi. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the introduction. You're too kind.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. So, uh, Tim, I want to start this conversation asking you about the data career. Studying your profile on LinkedIn, I realized that you got a bachelor degree by York University in management.
Yes.
So, how someone that get a bachelor in management become a data engineer, a data analyst, BI engineer, and so on? Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, it's not a deliberate path, as it were. It's a series of interesting forks in the road and pivots. So um, in summary, I think I finished university, and one of the things I'd always wanted to do going into university was actually to be a creative individual. I'd always wanted to go into design, graphic design, but I didn't have the sort of artistic prerequisites to do that at university. So I ended up doing it on the sides, as it were. I kind of did Photoshop, I did magazine design, and then after my degree, I ended up working in communications because that was the thing that I felt I could do well, largely because I'd been in student politics for 2 years. So after finishing my degree, I went to student politics, and then I worked for the university just doing communications, essentially extending the same job. Then I started working a little bit in marketing and looking at data points from students, and it's dawned on me that back then this is when Twitter was born. This was before a tweet was called a tweet. This is before Twitter even had an app, and people were mostly counting very arbitrary analytics, number of likes, number of posts, number of engagements. And there wasn't this world of data that we have today. And at the same time, I also bumped into someone who turned into a colleague at the information lab, and they encouraged me to join their company. They were a data company. They were working with this thing called Tableau. Very soon after, they also started working with Alteryx, and that's where the journey started. I didn't have any experience. I just started working with it, and actually, I realized that this was a really good way of building my understanding of data, but also a creative outlet. One of the things I used to do a lot was try and design heavily inside of Tableau. I don't do that much now because I will come onto that later, I'm sure. But yeah, I sort of brought my design and aesthetics to Tableau as much as I could, and I used that to learn the subject. And then it essentially, one thing led to another. I felt that there was a lot of written content on Tableau, and written content has been the predominant format, largely because it's been the easiest format to use. But video was coming through. I'd already made a lot of videos at university that were really successful, and I thought I could do something with Tableau. So I made a few videos, didn't think too much of it, and then I gave up. I gave up very quickly. They were on Tableau 10, and then 2 years later, I sort of thought, hey, why did you give up? They did really well. I looked at the analytics. I was like, people really like these. So I started again. I failed the first time. I started again 2 years later, and that was about 3 years ago, and that's where we are today. So yeah, a lot of failed attempts, a lot of weird paths in the journey. It's never deliberate.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Would it be okay if we play here your very first video
Oh
on
no.
in the channel?
Yeah, God. Which one is
Okay,
this? The layout containers video
layout
or
containers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
layout
the one. I
containers.
knew it. Yeah.
Marcelo, can you share?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Go for it.
Let me take here.
Hello and welcome to this short video tutorial on layout containers. I think layout containers are one of the most important parts of the dashboarding experience. But sometimes they behave slightly odd, so I thought I'd try and demystify. Hey, it's Tim here. Over the weekend, ChatGPT, OpenAI, the company that runs ChatGPT, added the code interpreter for ChatGPT. This is a separate model from GPT-4 that we've been using, or GPT 3.5 if you're using the free version. It's a separate model that is able to do mathematical data analysis because it's using Python behind the scenes.
Yes, we have some questions, and that you
This is
might
brilliant.
think.
The funny thing while you're getting this up is my videos broadly haven't changed in terms of the format compared to this video. We'll go through it in a second, but I think that's not many people sort of go back to someone's first video on the channel and see where they start. Because people always ask me about how do you start the video, how do you get into videos, and I think people are trying to achieve the product I'm achieving now, but they don't realize that it started way back, like 400 videos back. And if you look at that video versus today, actually it's quite clear what you need to do. You just need to keep doing it
Keep doing
for some time, and you'll get better.
That's the
right?
message.
Yeah.
I'll share my screen. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to listen the audio, but I think it's this one, right? Can you see the YouTube?
We're not seeing your screen.
1 second. Let me.
There we go. There we go.
Cool. I'll start playing it. Can you listen?
Nothing's playing. Nothing's playing at the moment.
No, right?
No.
Yeah. So yeah, no problem. But
That's fine.
you brought a really interesting point. Is it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, I'm doing the same thing with a really similar style, and I just improved by doing it again, and again, right? So based on this video, that you probably have some great feelings about it, and the whole path that you had to overcome until today. So how do you feel about this huge change from your first ever video than the news one? I mean, the current one.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at it now, and the huge thing is, firstly, I mean, I'm using Windows. I don't know which version there. So many things have changed. Number one, the software's changed. You can see Tableau is visibly different. Today I demo a very different product. Half of it is in the browser. Half of it, back then was never in the browser. Everything was a desktop product. Number two, I think the key thing is the audience is different, but this video I think has been viewed many years afterwards, right? So you might watch it today and think all 71,000 views were back, back when it was posted. Actually, no. When I posted it the first time, only 200 people watched it in the first year, but then over time it just actually gained more and more people because it's an issue that people have. And notice that I did this in 3 parts. So this is part 1, and the video is quite long. I don't know how long this video is.
I think
it's about 12 minutes.
12 minutes. Okay, yeah. And so I did it in 3 parts. And what I did is I showed people how to build a menu system with this container video. When I redid the video, there's actually a newer version of this video, which if I watch it today, looks dated to me. So the update to this video looks dated to me, but it's a better take on this, because what I decided to do is, look, people don't have 12 minutes, they have 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and they don't want it in 3 parts, they want it in 1 part. I looked at the analytics of this video and I just took out some of the pieces of information. So going back to what I said before, the more you do it, the more you realize what people are actually after. So you can see here in this video, can you see the peaks? Yeah, can you see the peaks? So tell you where most people are watching. Yeah. So what I did with my new video is I could see this in the back end. So what I did in my new video is I took these bits and I put them all together. I put them back to back, basically. And I made the video so that all of those peaks were right next to each other immediately, right at the beginning of the video. So the first 3 minutes give you all of those peaks. And then the rest of the video is the stuff that I want to add, my own personal advice, my own personal techniques. And so even if you find the video, you don't know who I am, you don't ever want to know who I am, you just need help, you just want to
Yeah.
get solved, you're creating value. And what tends to happen, and I see this in comments as well, is someone will watch 3 or 4 of my videos, then they'll say, "Oh, wow, I'm really appreciating your content." It's because after the third one, they've actually realized they've been watching the same person, right? And I think that's another thing people forget, when you want to start with these things, is that you need to build up some sort of, dare I say it, library of content, right? Because if someone finds you once, if you read something once, you read it and it just kind of goes away. But if you keep reading something from someone a few times, then you start to remember,
Yeah.
oh, actually, yeah, this is quite useful. So yeah, you can see the other one just there.
Yeah,
Actually,
you
if you
understand the format. You understand.
exactly
You learn what to expect from that person.
from that
Yeah.
person, yeah. And so, Marcello, on the right hand side, if you scroll down, you can see the fourth video down is the new version, layout containers in 10 minutes. And this one has, can you see the peaks are very different now?
Yeah.
And this one has 90,000 views. So I went from
Whoa.
71,000 views, and now I did the updated version, and this has 90,000 views. So it achieved its goal in 2020.
Yeah.
so, so I don't know what I'm going to do to update this, because in my view, this shouldn't be the way you do layout containers. Tableau should just update this altogether. But yeah, I feel like I don't need to do this video again, because it's been done in, I think, concisely. I've given it chapters. Everything is pretty well laid out, and I think it does the majority of what people need. Yeah.
Something funny is just yesterday, Tableau posted on LinkedIn a poll asking, "What do you prefer, layout container or floating container?"
Floating. Yeah. Yeah.
You prefer floating, really?
I prefer tiled. No. This is a debate
Okay.
this is a debate that I had 3 years ago. It's a very old debate, actually.
Yeah.
If you, it's been had many times. For me, for several reasons, I prefer tiled.
Me too.
Largely because I think it's more expectable what you'll get. But here's the caveat: floating also works if you do a couple of things correctly, but I think it's harder to teach everyone how to do floating correctly versus how to do tiled correctly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My view is it you need to learn a lot of things to work with tiled.
Yeah.
I think to get started, the floating is easy, but the problem is when you have a business project and the dashboard will change a lot of times, the maintenance of floating, and I can say that because I experienced that. For example, we have three visualizations, and then you need to add a fourth visualization in between these three guys. So just to add a visualization, you need to change everything, and when you
resize everything, you move everything.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Yeah. So I've seen people who use floating a lot go to this hybrid, which is they'll put zones as floating, and then they'll put charts inside of those containers. So the main container is floating, but the inside of that container they're using tiled. So I call that the hybrid approach. That also works. The only issue there is you go on server and it's moved by pixel. You go on Tableau public and it's moved by 2 pixels. It's never consistent depending on which browser you're on. So
and the screen size as well. Depending on
there
the
is
screen
also
size you are using.
There's also a performance impact, I believe, not only with the fact that dashboards that aren't fixed have an impact on server performance, but I believe because the objects are floating, the way Tableau renders them is different to the way it renders them if it's tiled, and so it actually can lead to performance. I think that's the case. I need to double check. It might be fake news, but
but I think so.
I need to double check, but I'm fairly certain that's what someone told me in the past, and I'm now trying to remember who or why.
You mean?
I heard the same.
Floating version is better.
Sorry.
You say that the floating option is much better performance?
The tiled option is better because of the way Tableau renders the dashboard. When you're floating, the position, it's not in a. how do I explain this?
It's the way basically the app reads the objects, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah, there is
yeah,
some calculations they need to perform in order to decide the size of the things if you are using
yeah,
floating
yeah,
in
yeah.
different screen
cool. That's very
sizes.
cool.
And then there's also something called a visualization. Well, we're not supposed to go into the geeky stuff here, but in the background, Tableau server calculates something called a visualization complexity score. And that decides whether your browser or the server renders the visualization. And if your browser renders the visualization, it's much faster than if the server renders it. Because if the server renders it, it has to send the image across the internet, which is slower. Whereas if your browser
Yeah.
does it, it just does it straight away. And I think floating impacts that score as well. So that leads
Oh,
Yeah.
to the
got it.
performance. So yeah, you can Google that. It's called server complexity score, and you can get it from Postgres, and it tells you
Yeah,
that there's a number, and if it's over the number, you're always going to get a server rendered viz.
yeah.
Cool.
Something interesting is we're gonna talk about this afterwards. But one of the reasons that I use sometimes the floating is I want to use a background image.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, Tableau should find a way that the users can keep using the tiled and a background image. I don't know why
Yeah.
in 2023 we still don't have this feature. Like
Yeah.
one container with the background and then another container
Yeah.
in
It's a
front of
container
this.
background, isn't it? It's a container
Yeah.
background. It's
Yeah.
quite simple. I kind of, it's one of those things where I'll defend Tableau a bit here. This is probably going to be an unpopular opinion, but I've really been intrigued by the rise of the rise and use of tools like Figma. Okay, because Figma, and if you look at Figma and who uses it, it's a tool that's been designed entirely for creative individuals, whether they work in web, graphic design, illustration, maybe app design, interaction design, UX design. This is a tool for that audience of people. And I think it's dangerous to go from that tool and expect the same sorts of flexibility in an analytics business intelligence tool. Because the very same sort of complexities, let's say you put an image inside of a background, okay? Now, an image is not just an image. I know it sounds sort of abstract, but when you start to designing for these kinds of assets, suddenly your workbook starts to get very big. I know someone will go on Splash, find a 7 megabyte image and dump it in. And now my TWB that was only 23 kilobytes has suddenly gone 700 times bigger and is now 7.5 meg. And you might think that's nothing, but then suddenly you start to build these kind of concepts into an actual business setting, and it's not reasonable. And so when Tableau is looking at these features and thinking, oh, what should we work on? You've got the community go, oh, all these formatting tools. And I look at a lot of them and I do think what we're really crying out for is a more creative tool. And I think there's an opportunity to build that. I think it's called Tableau Public, right? That's where people really want most of these things. When you look at the visualizations where people are complaining, it's Tableau Public. So why doesn't Tableau split the tool into take Tableau Public towards the designers, towards the illustrators, towards the people who want to really build something graphical, and leave desktop to be that sort of business centric thing. And if you want the style and flexibility, then you can use Public as a way to learn which of those things to bring back into the business intelligence tool, but you do it in a more structured way. And I think we're
Like
about to see that.
experimentation.
Exactly. And I think we're about to see that with the chart types. I don't think it's a coincidence that the chart types were just released. I mean, everyone's been asking for Sankeys and everyone's been asking for radial charts. We don't need a beta to see if it will work. You know what I mean? so I think that in itself is an experiment in some way to kind of see how that approach could work in the future by decoupling that kind of capability. So anyway, that's a massive tangent, but I think you got to be very careful what you ask for, because in a lot of instances, you don't actually get closer to the product you want. You actually start to get closer to something else that I think can be fulfilled in another way. You just need to be deliberate about it. So I know people are gonna message me as soon as this comes out. There's hundreds of features, Tim, you just talked about there. What about star sheets? What about formatting lines? What about rounded corners? All of these things, you know. I
Yeah.
know. I just think I would much rather Tableau did focus on certain things first.
Cool. I mean, this is a really interesting point because as a designer, I mean, I want to see all of the capabilities of a design tool into
Yeah.
Tableau. And at the
Right.
same time, you have a really great point because when you are in a corporate situation, most of the time you don't need to have a lot of colorful elements and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So yeah, it's a really good point. But this is your current point. What about when you started your career using Tableau?
Yeah.
How your mind changed over time when we
Yeah.
say using Tableau.
So I think I'm very fortunate. I learned Tableau when it was possible to know every bit of Tableau. Does that make sense? It's like
Yeah,
when
I got it.
I learned Tableau 7. When I learned Tableau, it was actually possible to open every menu and know what everything did.
Yeah.
And so I think it was easier for me to turn it into a career because with that baseline, I've only had to incrementally learn everything else. Now, when you learn Tableau today, and I've made a video about this, you have to be deliberate about what you learn. You can't possibly go down every single menu and try and learn everything. It's just too much. Even if you just take desktop, you got to
Mhm.
learn whether you're going to go and make design your thing, or whether you're going to make calculations your thing, or whether you're going to make data modeling your thing. You can't be all three. That unicorn doesn't exist. People are good at different things. And so it depends what you go into. If you work in an organization, I would say focus on design and calculations because those are the two things that
Yeah,
are going to allow you to get your output.
I agree.
If you're in a data oriented team where data modeling is important, I'd say learn your calculations and maybe a bit of prep to get your data modeling skills, up to date, right? And learn about data structure and how that fits into Tableau. If you're an infrastructure person and you like working with servers and you like working with APIs, learn Tableau Server,
Governance.
Tableau Cloud, learn governance. Exactly. Yeah. You got to make a choice, but there is no one person that has it
To
all.
do everything,
If
right?
if they know it all, they started with Tableau 6 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've had the
Yeah.
luxury of, if I'm making videos every single week about what's new,
Yeah.
I'm learning them slowly, right? But if
Mhm.
you start today, even if you started today and sat on a course that taught you everything, I think it would take you a year to finish the
Yeah.
course, right? And then you wouldn't even remember the things you started with. You got to practice it, you got to apply
Yeah.
it. So
Absolutely.
my advice is pick something and just be passionate about it and practice it. I think Andy Kriebel says this a lot. You have to look at things like Makeover Monday and realize that when you do something every single Monday 52 times a year, by the 53rd one you're 53 times better than your first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the same with
Beautiful
videos.
quote.
Going
Mhm.
back to videos, when people ask me, hey, how do I make a video, my new response in the last month has been make 52 and I'll talk to you then, because
Yeah.
by the time you
Love
make 52 you don't need to talk to me anymore, right? Like it's
Yeah.
that is basically the principle. You figure it out. I can tell you what I use, I can tell you how I did it, but it means nothing to you that I have an A7 IV and I put it into a Wave XLR and record it and I have all these lights. Like, what does that mean to you? You don't know until you kind of
Figure
learn
it
it.
out,
So
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Uh, since you just mentioned Andy Crable, and when I get started with Tableau,
Yeah.
uh, so Andy Crable was my source of knowledge. So when I
Yeah.
have questions, I go to YouTube,
Yeah.
and so and I know that you probably work on information lab at the same time that Andy
Yeah.
Crable. So what's the relationship that you have with him, and
Yeah.
how Andy Crable influence what you create afterwards?
Yeah, so Andy's the original YouTuber, right? Like
Yeah.
Andy was making videos about Tableau before videos were even a thing on YouTube. If you go to
Yeah.
Andy's first YouTube, I think it's crazy old, right? Um, Andy was also a colleague as well. So he came to the Information Lab as a teacher to help set up the data school. And so the interesting thing about that is I got to see a lot of the ways that he taught, a lot of the approaches, and Makeover Monday and all of those things, the things he achieved while he was at the Information Lab. So it's been really inspiring to kind of see that journey. But what it also taught me is that there's always space for perspective as well, because something that he did very well is he welcomes other sort of views and opinions, and he encouraged other people to go out and start their own projects and start their own things.
Cool.
And so I look at Andy in two ways. The first one is, someone I aspire to get to that level. He's been doing what he's doing at another level, completely different standard as well. So, hats off to him. It's still an untouchable level. But at the same time, I think in my current present situation, I also have to look at him as a bit of a competitor, but in a friendly way, if that makes sense. So it's not that I'm out to beat him or I'm out to kind of overtake him or anything. It's just you're trying to use other people's perspectives and lessons. And the thing Andy does really, really well is he teaches tutorials that get you into how to fix problems, real problems. I focused on how to show people what's new and where the platform is going. If I look at Donabelle Santos, who has a SQL Bell channel,
Yeah, I love
her
her.
video, she's
Amazing.
just incredible
amazing.
educator, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to look at all these people in a friendly way, of course, but I have to learn from them, right? In a competitive way, I want to become as good as they are at those things, because I don't feel that I can cover certain types of content until I'm able to cover it as well as they do. And so I want to learn from them. I want to, uplift them, mention them, make sure people know about them. But at the same time, still tons of stuff I can learn from their approach. So I have to be humble and just accept I have some skills, they have other skills, and sometimes those skills then come together in one person, right? So that's another
Cool.
thing you have to bear in
Amazing.
mind.
Very, very nice. Something that caught my attention when I was watching your videos is it's hard to find someone in Tableau community criticizing the tool. Like criticize, you do this in a very gentle way, especially when I start hearing you saying the phrase quality of life improvements.
Yeah.
So I believe that become your your political goal in terms of Tableau. So can you tell us how you decide to start criticizing? Because we understand what's the goal of the critic. The critic, you are trying to make the things better. For me, it's very clear. But how you come up with this idea?
So it comes partly from my past. So in student politics, one of the things you have to do is communicate or critique, but you have to be careful, because if you attack someone, they become defensive. And when you're in attack mode and they're in defense, that's just a battle. And so the only winner is the only winner coming out of that is coming out bruised, right? And so that's not a good experience for two people. So I always think it's better to get a positive outcome when you're critical, but you do it in a way that empowers that person to act on it. So when I call something a quality of life improvement, what I'm acknowledging is that, look, this has been something that people have been asking for, and it's an improvement, and it should be there. But we shouldn't look at it as like a net new feature, if that makes sense. It's like a distinction between this is something you needed to fix, and this is something you needed to build. And when you critique a product, the nice thing is if you use it every day, you know how to critique it well. There's a lot of bad critique, so there's why hasn't Tableau done this? I've been using Tableau for 20 years and they haven't even fixed this, like,
sometimes I say that, sorry.
the classic one is, it's 2024. I think you said it earlier on in this conversation, right? You said it's 2023, and how is it that we still haven't figured out images? I'm quoting you there, right? And it's like an interesting thing, because in my role, I have the benefit of having talks to product managers, and they will, internal product managers who work on the products will say, here's our list of things we really hate about the product, right? And they'll tell you the list. And the list is everything we care about. It's everything that we're passionate about. What everyone forgets is that Tableau is a product, and products go through product management cycles. And in product management cycles, the people who decide what products are worked on and what aren't worked on never face the heat. So I find it very easy to critique the product because I know that I'm not critiquing the people who build the product. I'm critiquing the decision-making process around how you prioritize features. And so what I do is I try and amplify that discussion, because I know that a good percentage of the people who watch my channel, I'd easily say probably 20 or 30% of my audience are Salesforce employees. So I can't tell you the amount of time I've made a video and I've had a product manager reach out the next day to say, hey, let's talk about that issue you mentioned in the video. And I'm like, okay, great. But I also don't just make it for that reason. I make it because I think sometimes they need the evidence that it's a public issue in order to demonstrate to their seniors that this is actually quite a passionate thing. So my video about hacks is just another way of repeating the message I made a year ago, that don't forget these quality of life improvements. And surprise, surprise, we've been getting more quality of life improvements, not because of me, but because I think you're keeping it on the agenda. And by doing that, people have not done enough, we need to do more, right? And the more people that watch that video, the more people that agree, it allows Tableau to read the room a bit. So you need to critique in a constructive way. There is also one thing I'll say quickly. Everyone has a choice, yeah? And you don't have to use a product if you don't like it, right? If you don't like the product, you can just stop using it. That's one of the best ways of voting with your money. And we work in a market where there are other tools, I won't name them here, but there are other tools that are happy to give you the product for free and are happy to pretend to imitate the thing that you love passionately. And I always say, like, just use that tool, and you might not like it, but once you start to appreciate what other tools are like, then I think you have a better context to critique the products that you use every day. It's easy to hop in a nice car and hop in a bad car and see why the nice car is nice and the bad car is bad. But I don't think many people are critiquing Tableau from the perspective of having used a range of products. So maybe use one other product, but you haven't used 3 or 4 to really understand, okay, fine, I won't complain about background images, because in Power BI, it's not even close to me asking for background images. It's something else, So yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's keep this point, because I have a question here, because I mean, Saldo said that, oh, you critique the product, and for me it's amazing because everyone is fighting for having a really good product so you can deliver the best solution ever. But I'm particularly interested about the I still hate hacks video, because I really like it, and I'm kind of impacted by the video because I really like hacks.
I sent that video immediately for Marcelo. I said, Marcelo, look at this. This is so good. and my surprise, Marcelo told me, oh, but I am the person that loved the hacks.
I'm this person, so I'm particularly interested on this video because I really love hacks, because I'm really passionate about creating new stuff, exploring new ways to do the same thing. But I do understand your point of view of having this built in the product, because we don't need to do the hacks anymore. So based on that video, what did you feel about it to really decide, all right, let me record this video? Is there any new feature or functionality that you want to see in Tableau?
So 2 things. I'll start with the car analogy. In the car industry, when people show a preference for something, everyone in the car industry moves towards that thing. So the moment it's SUVs, every single car coming out is an SUV. You can't get past it, right? We don't suddenly have off-road routes. The roads are still the same, but everyone wants the SUV. So the car manufacturers are very good at reacting to what people are asking for, and they move heaven and earth to do that. With Tableau, I think the reason I talk about hacks the way I do is because some of the hacks have existed for a long while. So you've had plenty of time to really see what people are trying to achieve with those hacks. And for some of them, I'm not saying all of them, for some of them, I think you should fix them. So what annoyed me and what got me triggered was that Tableau marketing were marketing what they were marketing hacks as this sort of economy in Tableau. All right.
Yeah.
And
It's a
they
big
showed
team
this
for sure.
visualization, and it happened recently actually with map layers.
They are
Someone
proud.
was
They
like,
are proud of that thing, and that is why
yeah,
what
and
I
I don't
can't
think they should
understand.
be. Yeah. And I was like, it's it's okay to show that in Visit the Day, or it's okay to show that in, like, Information is Beautiful awards, and it's okay to show that in Twitter to say, look how amazing this is. Look at the tutorial. Head to Ken or Kevin's blog to go and see how to do this. And by the way, there's a template that helps you do this. I don't think it's okay to go on LinkedIn and say, here's our amazing product, and look at this amazing thing you can build. And you look at it and you go, wow, that is beautiful. That looks so easy. And you go
30
to it, you
minutes.
open it, and then it's like, okay, are you ready to do trigonometry with sin, cos, and tan? Like,
Yeah.
and there's a huge jump. So I don't think it's a fair marketing thing. So that's the first thing, listening to the community. The second thing, are there features that I'd like to have more of? I think the one I've always campaigned for is better dashboard design and templates, because the majority of what people do in Tableau isn't actually analytics, it's formatting, right?
Yeah.
And the Tableau's become, I think in today's world, the analytics has exceeded the capability of the design, right? There's so much you can do that now there is just this immense need to format everything you can do. All the calculations you can create, great. Now can I have up and down indicators? Oh God, here we go. Let's go to the internet. Let's find a triangle in the ASCII character. Let's
Yeah.
copy it. And now let's write a calculation to say if it's minus this and less than that, then up. Then if it's that, then that.
Down.
Let's drag it onto the color label. Let's mark it
Yeah.
red. Let's do color. Oh, I changed my data source. Oh no, it's lost the colors. Oh no. You know what I mean?
Sometimes
We
it's
do it a
All
lot.
of that is formatting. It's got nothing to do with the analytics, right? And so, that to me is just like a huge area of opportunity, whether it's dashboard design. I know I talked about Figma just 10 minutes ago, and I said, don't bring it in. But all I'm talking about here is actually formatting the analytics itself. Give me that grid. Give me a grid to snap on. So if I do decide floating, everything is nice and straight, all of those things. So those are the two different worlds.
Yeah.
Got it.
My pet peeve personally is the line. So we need to include rulers.
Yeah.
And again, 2023, I'm sorry. And again, we need to create a blank object, then 10 pixels height, then black background to simulate a line. So that's not. So
Yeah.
I've been.
You could have just a line
I've been
object, right?
teaching
So just
Tableau.
drag and drop there and boom.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been teaching Tableau, and when I start the course, I say Tableau is a very easy tool. And in that moment, I got shy because that is people look at me and say, "Oh, you are trying to create a line from a square, is it?" And I said, "Yes, I am."
Yeah.
But you said it is easy, and I say, "Okay, this is an exception."
Yeah, exactly. It is funny. There's quite a few things in Tableau where you're about to show someone how to do it for the first time, and you stop for a minute because you're like, okay, don't ask why, just do what I'm telling
Just
you.
do it. Yeah.
Average one, drag it on. Average one, dual axis, bring it in. There's always something like that. Yeah. It's super common.
Yeah, I will ask a question that is quite opposite of what we just said. We're just talking about. What? Why do you think Tableau have a so strong community? And on the top of that,
good question. I think it's maturity. So Tableau turned 20 this year. So when you have a product that's been going for that long, how many products do you know that are 20 years old? The iPhone's not 20 years old, right? Yeah, Apple's not
I
that
think
old.
SAP maybe.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
SAP.
exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
many brands do you know that are 20 years old?
Click
Yeah,
sense. Click the.
right. But no one's talking about them, right?
Oh, we have a friend. We have a friend that
Yeah.
is very concerned
Where's
about.
the ClickSense community? When was the last ClickSense conference? I haven't even seen that on Twitter or
Well,
X now, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Tableau's been around longer than Twitter the brand existed. Twitter the brand is basically dead, right? And it's now called X. Tableau as a brand
yeah.
has been alive longer than that. So the simple answer is the longer you've been around, the bigger your community gets. It's really that simple, right? It's as simple as that. The second thing is that I think there was, because Tableau came from this small product mindset, it had the opportunity for the community to establish a value proposition amongst the community rather than having that be established through professional services and consulting services. And so over time, I think other technologies like SAP and so on have had all the same knowledge, but has mostly gone into the professional consultancy world. Whereas in the Tableau world, I think a lot of that has stayed open and public. So it's easy for people to come in, and it's easy for people to sort of go off and do other things. And I'm really kind of happy because I've been around long enough to have seen so many new faces in the community. Some only recent in the last 5 years, some only in the last 3 years. And if you look at the community, maybe you go look at the visionaries or you look at the ambassadors, you ask when people learnt about Tableau. I bet you the average is probably 3 or 4 years, but it's not 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And that also shows you that it's replenishing. It keeps changing. It keeps
Yeah.
getting new, and people move on. No one's going to be building dashboards for 15 years, right? You get a promotion, you go on, you do something else. And so you do fall out of love with Tableau. Of course it is. That's totally healthy and fine. And you just got to accept that happens. And so that's what you need for a community. You actually do need people to move on so that other people can step up and rise to the content. One thing I'm always trying to think about is, at some point my channel will stop talking about Tableau. And when I stop, I want to be able to have the channel continue in someone else's responsibility, and for them to take it to somewhere else because they're more passionate than me, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really important because when you have a really strong community, this community starts helping each other, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, one of the whole purpose of having a really strong community. And regarding about this, why did you decide to start creating content for Tableau community, like as part of this really beautiful community?
I think the simple answer is that I learned so much from it. And I learned reading blogs. I learned reading and learning from other people. We talked about Andy. We talked about colleagues. Even today at Aimpoint, where I work, I'm still learning about lots of tools, not just Tableau. And that knowledge is, I think it's hard to appreciate access to knowledge can do to someone's life. And it's kind of like a weird thing because, if you'd asked me when I was 18 or 16 what I'd be doing with my life, I think most people would not have had the aspirations at the level that I have now because I wasn't very numerate. I sort of struggled with a lot of literacy and so on and so forth. And so most people would never have put me in this situation. What I think has changed that is I was able to find the knowledge I needed when I needed it. It wasn't behind a paywall. It wasn't behind some sort of barrier. And so if I wanted to learn Tableau, the only hindrance was me, right? Like I could go out and find it. Someone out there was doing something. I could figure my way through it. I could solve the problem. And it opened up a world of a career, basically. And so that's why I do it, because in many ways I want to give back. I learned through other people, and it created a huge opportunity for me today. So I like to say that I can leave the door open for other people behind me to kind of learn. And so, on my channel, I have this Tableau desktop crash course. I hope that video helps 1,000 people start using Tableau. And if 10 of those people get a career in Tableau as a result of that, that's good enough for me, right? Like that's sort of the opportunity. So that's ultimately why you make content. It's making content on YouTube is not profitable at all. majority of YouTube will tell you that YouTube probably accounts for 20% of their revenue. And I think people think that I'm printing money or something like that. Like it's the YouTube channel with the 500 videos I've had today, it would take, I think, 35 years of ad revenue based on today's performance to pay the time back and the resources that I've put into it. That's how long it would take. That's how little it generates. So it's not a career. It's not a side hustle. Now you could turn it into a course. Of course, you could go to Udemy. I could go to Udemy and put my 500 videos in Udemy, and I know for a fact what that's worth. But that assumes access to something, and I know that not many people have access. I know people watch my videos on their phone with nothing else. I had someone message me today saying, "Hey, I'm learning Tableau for a job interview next week. I only have my phone. I've never opened the product. How do I do these demos?" And it's kind of a weird one because I'm like, you need to use Tableau on a desktop machine. But it's great to see that there are people learning the tool to sort of take opportunities, and they're using it. So if you put that behind a paywall, it doesn't make sense.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, makes sense. And too, in this way, basically, I want to have a question to you.
Yeah.
How do you learning about the new Tableau releases, and basically how you can understand in detail how this feature is happening and work it?
So this has become a very painful.
Tim, do you mind if I add a question on top of that?
Yeah, go for it.
I would like to know if you have any contact with the engineers that develop the new features to clarify the things.
Yeah, because we know as a ambassador, we have the opportunity to see the features in the preview release and maybe test with solutions engineer from Tableau, right?
Yeah. So
sorry, Tim, just adding a little bit here, because just to clarify, because this is a really interesting question. I mean, just to clarify, there are a lot of Tableau releases, and for me at least, a lot of complex ones. And you do it in a such great way and easily to understand that it's really impressive.
Yeah.
So just to clarify why this question is so important for us.
Right.
Yeah. For instance, the release from map features, to me and to us, I like is very good because you see in detail and you share in detail principle.
Yeah. So this is a complicated answer because you've all added complexity to it. So let me break it down into two things. Number one, as a Tableau visionary, I do have an opportunity to talk to developers at Tableau. That said, I don't talk to them before the release about the features. However, they do put on opportunities for ambassadors and visionaries to see the features before they come through. Now, that's not all the features. That's just a handful of features. And often they're not the features that we actually see in the release. And more recently, coming on to the second point, it's become more frustrating because the Tableau beta program doesn't showcase all the features like it used to. So I'll give away some trade secrets here. So what I do is I have you heard of a service called Pingdom? I think it got acquired by another service, but there's a service called Pingdom. And when the Tableau pre-release stops, so they have a pre-release beta. When they stop, they disable the pre-release. So the pre-release stops working, but the license key is still working. And what they do is, I think basically within 3 weeks of that window, something is going on in the behind the scenes of Tableau, and they've already decided, but they're preparing Tableau to release. And towards the end of that 3 weeks, a few days before it goes public, in the content delivery network, they upload the installers for the software. So nice. I'm guessing the URLs every time of each release for the download. I'm pinging them constantly a few times a day. And as soon as a ping comes back as successful, they're failing all the time because the file's not there. When one of them comes back successful, I then download the actual release like a day or two early, and then I start going through what they said. They have a page that comes out a month before saying coming soon in Tableau, and I start working through that list and I figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And I choose the 3 most interesting features and I make those videos before the release is actually live. Then on the day of the release, boom, I have a video. Yeah.
Cool.
Now,
Amazing.
Very interesting.
in the past, I used to be able to do that without any problem because they told you everything in the beta. So everyone had an opportunity to work on it. But I don't believe in making a video based on the pre-release software because sometimes things come from the pre-release, right? So I could make a video on, let's say, some of the stuff that's in the pre-release. But again, sometimes those features get removed and they change. So I'm very principled. I only make a video about the feature once I'm certain it's going to be released. And so the first 3 videos you see are normally, I did them a week before because I kind of knew what was going on.
Yeah, so nice.
I don't want Tableau to make that process easier for me because I also don't want to have an experience that is different from you and me, right? Like I want to get the experience that everyone gets when it comes out. So that's also why I don't go asking, hey, what are the best way to use this feature? I kind of want to discover the feature, find its easiest way to work and get it done. The final thing I'll say is that I get critiqued a lot for using Superstore sales, and I get critiqued a lot for having very basic examples and not doing some sort of amazing trick or, you know, like, Tim, why didn't you show off this thing? And I think I'm always telling people my channel is not about showing these complex things. My channel is just about telling someone what the feature is. Oops, my camera disabled. 1 second. I think my room is too hot, so my camera decided to
no problem
to switch itself on and off.
Relax a little bit.
Okay.
It's so embarrassing, isn't it?
Take your time.
No, it's not.
Pro YouTuber camera turns off midstream.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, we can see you.
I'll open the window. Maybe
I have just a joke. When you were explaining that, I thought, oh, that's the hack that Tim appreciate.
Yeah.
It blew my mind.
You said you still hate hack, right?
Well,
for everything, there is an exception.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. It's true. It is a hack. I'm kind of gaming the system.
Oh, totally.
But yeah, no, I think it's I've lost my trail of thought now. Oh yeah, I don't want to have an experience that other people didn't get. So developers do reach out and they do tell me, hey, this is coming out. But I say this to them now as well. Like, yeah, if you tell me how it works, then maybe I don't get an honest impression of how it's supposed to work. And so I want my videos to be a reflection of how it's like to just use the product as a user, not this sort of polished thing where Tableau said to do it this way and do it that way and, you know, whatever. And sometimes I miss things and I get things wrong, but that's the point of the video. Like the point is that if I didn't get it in the video, probably everyone else won't. And so I'll do another video explaining it. I want it to be authentic that way. So yeah.
That makes sense. Totally.
And for me, it's I can understand this from content creation perspective, because if you create a video with everything, with all the details, no one gonna watch this thing. That's the fact.
It's too long. Yeah,
it's too long.
That's
yeah,
why
so I completely understand that
it.
you teach the people how to get started with the things, and you show
exactly.
like 50% or 6%, and the last mile they can find other persons, other content creators that have that content.
Yeah, and the other thing is that people aren't stupid. Like I treat my audience with a high level of intelligence. They're using Tableau, so as long as I show them like how the basic feature works, how the function's written, they'll figure out what to do with it. Yeah. I'm not here to tell them how to be creative. I'm here just to show them what's new, not to tell them this is the way to use the tool. I'm not here to do that. So there are people who will go and put together these curated examples, and I think that's totally fine. I just think they make their content more niche by doing that, because not like people who are looking for basic help don't know to search LODs, right? They don't know to search set actions. They don't know how to search 5-level drill down Like they don't even know they're looking for a drill down. Like, what's a drill down to someone who's never done analytics, right? Like, how do you search that?
And this is very complex to begin, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's a very complex the conception of this feature.
Yeah. I think I've showed Marcello this before, where when I have a video idea, I don't just do the video. I go to Google and I type what I think the average person types, and I see what comes up, and then that changes the way I make the video, because that's likely to be how the person finds the video. So those two go hand in hand. Every day there's someone in the world who's learning Tableau for the first time. That audience is always growing, and they're always leaving, but there are also people who will never need to go to 80% of knowledge, never. So that's why I focus on the 0 to 60. I think that's the biggest way to help the biggest amount of people.
Yeah, perfect. Cool. This is very, very nice from your side, basically, because do you have some experience with this, like? And in this way, basically, I have a more question to you specifically. And in the beginning, if you starting today, basically, what is you say to a people in starting your career, basically with Tableau or other analytics tool? What do you say?
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit at the beginning, but I think it's focus. If I started 5 years ago, I would have said learn it all, because it was easy to learn it all. If I say starting today, there's focus. The reason I say that is because there's so much more to work with, and there's so much more opportunity as a result. If you're learning Tableau today, you could decide to go into, let's say, infrastructure and just work on Tableau Cloud and Tableau Server. You could decide to work on governance and just work on not even touching Tableau, just work on organizing people who use Tableau, right? You could become a project manager or something like that.
Project manager,
exactly. You don't even need to open the software. In fact, on my LinkedIn course, the majority of people who watch my video don't build dashboards.
Really?
They're people who work in organizations who just want to know what Tableau is. That's literally 90% of the 20,000 people who've watched that course, right? So there's so much you can do, and I think if you focus, you'll become really good at that thing. And don't tie your knowledge to Tableau. When you're learning something, don't go and learn Tableau's permissions model. Go and learn what security models look like in an organization. Go learn what security models look like in AWS. Go learn what security looks like in databases. Bring all of that together and see what you like, what you don't like, and then create your own idea of how security should work in Tableau, right? Because when you learn Tableau security model, you're learning how to toggle buttons. When you learn it across different tools, you're learning the principles, and therefore you're going to be safe when Tableau disappears, which it will in the future. In an infinite timeline, Tableau won't be here. So you'll need your skills to be able to do something else. So you have to learn. You have to learn the principles, and you do that with the products you have. But you take it elsewhere.
Yeah, makes sense. Totally. And so in this same perspective, basically, you create some content as always. In my personal experience, me too. This week, I started create some videos to LinkedIn, and I have a question from your side to other professionals in the same moment. Okay, basically, when you will create content, what are you thinking? And if you can share any tip to share content in LinkedIn, YouTube,
It's funny you say this, because I had a bit of a crisis in the last 2 weeks. You maybe noticed I haven't posted a lot of videos. I had a bit of a crisis that I think I'm contributing to a dynamic I don't like. The dynamic I don't like is it's what I call thirst engagement. Have you heard of this phrase? So it's this concept of you're creating posts purely for engagement. Does that make sense? It's like the thing you're focused on is not actually the content. The thing you're focused on is, let me put this here so people can see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I call it thirst engagement because that the thing that actually gratifies you is how many people see it, not the quality of the content. Does that make sense?
Not the impact that calls in other people's lives.
Correct. Because you're swiping a feed and all you see is all this like amazing stuff that other people and people who are early in their careers are like, oh my god, is this what I have to do to like get noticed?
So hard.
And so they say, okay, great, I'll get on there and go, hey. The trend I hate the most is like 5 tips to do this. Number 1,
I do that.
Number 3, do that. And then
I think
it's crazy because you see it again and again, and then you look at the engagement numbers and they're just like, but this is like, I don't get it. So listen, I'm not going to be the one again to tell people how to use something, but I don't think that dynamic is 100% healthy for everyone involved. So in the last 2 weeks, I've only posted once a week on YouTube and on LinkedIn, just once a week. And I have more videos, but I'm only posting once a week, just for a month or two, just to see how that goes, see how that happens. I think that's an important thing. Have a healthy relationship with the social media. I think the other thing is that Twitter has left this massive gap and people are run to certain places. So LinkedIn's become a lot noisier. Threads potentially sticking, but it's not sticking. But I always viewed LinkedIn as a professional tool. And so personally, I think long term, I'm going to take it back to that. I'm going to make it back. Here it happens again.
Your camera.
My camera is just awful today.
Disable again.
I'm not. I should get rid of this camera as soon as I can.
No problem. Take your time. Okay.
So no, like I think it's really important to have that relationship that you want. So what it's just given up. I'll bring my camera back. Let me do this.
Yeah.
Look at that. Here's a phone. This is my phone.
That's
not too bad, is it?
Yeah.
There you go. Back up. I don't know how I'm going to charge it, but we'll see how much battery it has, and we'll keep going until it dies.
Very nice. Now we can see the
air freshener and everything, the nets. Yeah, you can see my whole studio and everything.
Oh,
I'll put it back there. I'll put it this way anyway.
Nice.
The point I was making is that look, you need to have a healthy relationship with all of this stuff, and it needs to be done in a way that I think you can sustain, and that what everyone else is doing, that's up to them. If they want to kind of engage with this, that's fine. But I think you have to be disciplined and represent yourself, because I think also when people hear from you less often, I think they're more interested in you as well, a little bit. I think so. I think they're more interested in the few things you have to say. You pay more attention, I think. So whatever platform you choose, do it with intent, and do it because of the quality of the content, not because of the engagement. The engagement is nice, and it's nice that people kind of respond to you, but make that video about that boring thing as well. Make that video about that popular thing as well, right? Like, don't just look for engagement, because unless your job is to be an influencer, there is no reason to be looking for engagement, really.
Exactly.
If you've got a job that pays you 9 to 5, there's no reason to look for engagement. If you're looking for a job, absolutely look for engagement. But once you've got the job, like why like people do well in their jobs every single day. You don't need to be constantly
great approach
sharing it.
Very, very nice to hear that, Tim. And I believe that is something that for me makes a lot of sense, because maybe I am one person that sometimes is looking for audience, and instead of focus on the things that I believe that are correct and that I believe that makes an impact. But sometimes it is frustrating creating something that I am pretty sure that can have a positive impact, and then you put your effort in that thing, and then no one reach to what you created. It's kind of frustrating, and sometimes, since I am frustrated, I go to the opposite side. And when you say that show me that okay, I need to focus on the quality and what I believe, and the audience one day will appear.
I know the way to say it. You need to find your voice, not find the audience. Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
amazing.
Right. You need to find your
great
voice, because
insight.
once you find
Yeah.
your voice, people will listen to you. Right. That's
great insight.
ultimately it. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I have another point to discuss. Sometimes I try post a fun fact,
Yeah.
and sometimes I return it to the focus and continue my
Yeah.
path.
Yeah.
What do you think about this approach? Sometimes
Yeah.
you assume
Like
a
mixing,
perspective,
right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
times,
Experimenting with what kind of content works and what doesn't work is really important. It's funny, your perception of what works is never as accurate as you think it is. So in reality, you might think, I know, I'm Tim, I'm going to post videos all day.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was good at writing, would more people read my blog on the same content? I'm not good at writing, so
Yeah.
I don't write the blogs. But if I was good at writing, would more people consume my blog versus my videos? Right? That's a question that's worth answering. And so you don't know until you try something like that. So you got to write a few blogs, write a few short things, a few long things, and try that
Yeah,
out.
makes sense.
Only when you try do you find out what works. And going back to finding your voice, sometimes you don't realize that your voice is good at certain things and your voice is not good at certain things.
Yeah, and to understand this, basically, we need experiment,
Yeah,
testing every day, because
exactly.
the audience sometimes is go to a way
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sometimes go to another way.
I will say one last thing on this, which is you don't control the audience, the
Yeah,
platforms do. So you might think you're posting to the date fam, you might think you're posting to, I don't know, a certain type of audience because you believe they follow you, but that doesn't mean they see it. And I see this all the time. If it was the
Yeah.
data fam that was watching my videos, I wouldn't have 50,000 subscribers. For as simple as that.
Mhm.
The platforms decide your audience based on certain metrics, and overnight they change those metrics. I saw this a month ago, actually. Something happened in YouTube where they changed the way the algorithm feeds people, and for a week I just completely saw a drop, just
yeah,
complete drop. And it's so funny because the line is going drop, but then it goes
bro.
it
Exactly.
doesn't go back up. It's just something dropped. Okay.
Yeah, that's my
And
situation now.
that kind of control, that's not me changing what I do. I didn't change anything in years, like I said to you. So if you're feeding these platforms your content, be aware that they sometimes change their priorities to prioritize short form video goes everywhere. I cannot believe on LinkedIn these PDFs are the thing that are driving
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
These posts I was getting frustrated about. Here's 5 tips to do this. They're just PDFs, and I just cannot believe. I cannot believe
It's much
that's
better than
that's
images.
what that's what
that's
that's what
what
LinkedIn is prioritizing. And you can't even do with them. People put links in them, and you can't click on them. It's like, come on, this is the internet. What's going on here? So yeah, you go on TikTok, everything has to be within 10 seconds. You go on YouTube, it has to be a video. You go on Twitter, it has to be 200 words. If you go on LinkedIn, it has to be a professional post. What if your content doesn't fit into any of those parameters? Yeah. Can you imagine
Yeah.
making content to fit all of those? Something that's
No.
10 seconds long, is professional, is 250 words, can be done as a video, and also can be done into a PDF that can be shared out. Nothing
Yeah,
hits
Are
all
you-
of those boxes.
Are you planning to go to TikTok? No, I'm kidding.
No.
Sometimes.
I'm
TikTok
kidding.
is brutal. TikTok is
Yeah.
brutal, and from a professional context, I don't see how you build a professional brand. I mean, I'll be honest with you, my Tableau Tim is a professional brand related
Yeah.
to me, and I don't see how, me showing you how to do the, I don't know, outline function is going to compete with someone who's doing like NPC reactions or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
good.
There is niches and
Sim,
niches, right?
one last question about this topic of content
Yeah.
creation before we move on to the next topic is something that I already heard a lot of people asking me, and I have the same question. I don't have an answer for that, and that's the reason I will ask for someone very smart and smarter than I am. Uh, sometimes people have the content creators have different kinds of interests,
Yeah.
but it seems that YouTube algorithm do not appreciate one channel that
Correct.
creates different things. They
Correct.
prefer that you go the same.
Down a specific route. Yeah.
So your
I think you asked what's my experience of that. Yeah.
yeah, I want to
Yeah.
hear your experience, because I believe that
Yeah.
you in some moment you find one approach and you
Mhm.
focus on this approach, even though sometimes you go to different
Yeah.
kinds of productions
Mhm.
like React. I appreciate your React video with a data analyst. That is very good. Do you
So
remember that video?
yeah. I reacted to Stefanovic, how to become a
Yeah,
data analyst. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you think work in that scenario is try different things or select one and keep doing?
Mhm. So I I know my audience on YouTube inside out, and that means I know what I can experiment with. I can experiment with the format, but who I'm speaking to doesn't change. Okay, so I know my audience is expecting Tableau. They are data analysts. They're aged between 22 to 33. That's the rough age group. 70% of my viewers sit in that age group. They're typically young professionals. They're stuck on a problem that needs fixing, whether it's a small problem which needs a feature, or a personal challenge or career challenge. So that's my audience. Okay. As long as my videos appeal to that body of people, I can experiment with whatever I want. I can try an animation. I can try a React. I can try a short form video. I can try a full video. I can try a 4-hour tutorial on Tableau. I can try a 10-second video. That's all safe to try. I'm not taking risks.
Mm-hmm.
The risk I've avoided taking, and you've seen me try and take it, is talking about something other than Tableau. And I've slowly made a video about Snowflake.
Snowflake,
And the interesting thing is I have 7 videos on Snowflake that I haven't launched. I've done them, they're finished, they're edited, they're on my computer, they're sitting in the YouTube backend.
Nice.
But every time I put them out, YouTube absolutely hammers the channel. And what I mean by that is when I put that video out, I see a drop in all the other metrics for other videos. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you'd think, oh, that shouldn't happen. But it actually does happen. And the videos that I'm comparing it to are videos that are being viewed all the time. So I have 4 videos that get 1,000 views every single day. I put a Snowflake video out and those drop to like 600-700.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's
and
a
it makes me
revenge.
think
It's
I
revenge.
should just start another channel. I should just start another channel and just do it Snowflake. But I'm not going to do that because I think that's sort of part of the challenge, isn't it? Of course, if I've been talking about Tableau for 3 years, of course everyone who watches my channel talks about Tableau. Well, I need to make my audience a little bit more diverse. So I do have to take those risks. So my approach is going to be, I'll start with 1 video a month about another technology, right? So we'll do 20 videos on Snowflake this year. I'll make them good videos. And in the 2 years' time, I won't get punished for making a Snowflake video because now Tableau thinks my audience is someone who uses Snowflake and Tableau and is a data analyst who's 25 to 30 and all this stuff. And when I'm talking about Snowflake, I might bring in DBT and I'll say, okay, now my audience is a data engineer or a data analyst who's 25 to 30, who's stuck on a problem, looking for help, looking for courses, right? So you slowly bring your audience. It's a bit like a football club. When you're trying to grow your fan base, well, you're not going to grow it by losing games. You have to grow it by winning some games in different places, in different audiences. So that's what you got to do. And then YouTube will say, okay, actually, you made a good video on Snowflake there that data analysts like. Let me show data analysts. But at that point, I might get penalized for making too many Tableau videos, right? And so the balance then becomes, do I stop calling the channel Tableau Tim and I pivot it away to something else?
Exactly.
No.
No
It just has to be. It has to be
team.
data neutral, right? It has to be not named after a product. It has to be named after something else. So it might just be data with Tim as an example, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. but that's a journey, and I think you have to earn a lot of people's respect to be able to call yourself Data with Tim or whatever. Like, data is a huge topic. So, yeah, that's
that's a
Nice.
very smart answer. Thank you a lot, Tim.
Um,
The takeaway I got from this answer is, as soon as you have a clear understanding of your audience, you can create different types of content for that audience.
correct.
Okay.
The mistake people make is you change
Again,
the
it's all about the
audience
voice, right?
and the content and the format. You're changing too many things.
Yeah, it's a great strategy. In my side, basically, I follow the same way because, as you know, we have some profiles of the people in the network, okay, and the idea is attend all persons, you know.
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely.
Tim, bringing artificial intelligence to the table. I'm using ChatGPT to help me programming some stuff. I mean, I built the dictionary generator product. I rebuilt it in another language, and I use ChatGPT to help me to understand the difference between some syntax and stuff like that. But I'd like to bring AI to the table regarding about content creation. Do you use ChatGPT to create your videos or any content related to your videos?
So yeah, absolutely. So the 6 months ago, I didn't use any AI whatsoever in my content creation, and content creation was a huge burden. Okay, I use it all the time now, and you're probably thinking, "Wait a minute, hold on, like who's this fraud?"
Whoa, this is very important.
He's using ChatGPT to make all the content. So I use it in 3 ways. Number 1, all my videos are transcribed immediately before they go on YouTube. That's done by AI. The AI used to do that is called OpenAI Whisper. It's made by ChatGPT. ChatGPT made it so that ChatGPT could listen to podcasts. So they made a tool to transcribe audio. It's called OpenAI Whisper. That's what transcribes all my
just a joke.
Screen grab. So it transcribes all my videos straight away. That's number 1. What that means is I've been hearing from people who watch videos in other countries and other languages that the transcript they see is much of higher quality because the transcription is immediate and it's higher quality. So now you can watch it in Spanish with the Spanish subtitles, and Google's translation of that is much better if the transcription is better. The second thing is there's a feature coming to YouTube in the future, which they're testing with top creators, which can take my voice, process it into AI, and then speak other languages as my voice.
Oh,
does that make sense?
That will be amazing.
I see the beta test.
I am impressed.
So I've tried it. I've tried it already with a company called Elven Labs, and it's ridiculously good. Okay.
Whoa.
So
oh my god!
I've got it to speak to me. I've got it to speak to me. I've got it to speak to me in other languages, and I've sent it to people who speak those languages, and they have been sort of gobsmacked at how good and accurate it is at translating that thing. And so suddenly you're making videos. My video watch list is mostly English speakers. Just think how many more people in the world now can watch those videos. So I don't do that today, but I've been testing it because what I'm trying to understand is how do I make a video that works in lots of different cultures? It's not the same. I do a lot of videos with an English assumption of how I'm going to tell the story. In other cultures, you don't tell the story in the same way. So you have to be more deliberate, have more pauses, more phases. So that's what I'm learning how to do. The final thing, go for it.
Sorry. Unfortunately, YouTube do not allow you to add 2 audios for the same videos. Am I correct?
It does, but only if you have a certain number of subscribers. Yes. So Mr. Beast and all these people with millions of subscribers can do that. If you go to Mr. Beast video, you can listen in Portuguese, Indian. There's a bunch of other languages. So if you're big enough on YouTube, they do. But they're going to make that feature available to everyone in the world. I have that feature, but I don't have the money to pay someone to dub it if that makes sense. And I'm not confident with the AI tool that I'm using to say this is going to work 100% of the time.
Yeah.
The final thing I've been using AI to do, and this is the real sort of mind blower, is I make a video, I have it transcribed by AI into my full transcript. I take the transcript, I put it into ChatGPT and say, please write me a blog based on this transcript. And it writes a step-by-step blog of that video. And then when I post the video on my website, you've got a video and a summary in text that's shorter than obviously the video, just walking you through the steps. And then I add the images onto that. So that's sort of the way I do it. So I'm using it to adapt my content to other formats that some people appreciate because they find it, they can't watch a video, they're at work, so they just want to quickly scan what to do. So that can help them.
Yeah,
that takes a lot more effort than it currently have on it, and it's not the same as a written blog. I'm not saying that it's like the best blog ever written. It's obviously clearly written by ChatGPT, but for step-by-step tutorials of like how to use the outline function, it's good enough to be able to help someone if they can't watch the video on my website. So that's basically what I'm using it for.
Nice.
So yeah, but I don't use it for like making the actual content, if that makes sense. I don't think it's good enough yet. If you so much of what I'm doing is new in Tableau anyway that it's not covered, right? So you know, ChatGPT doesn't know about the outline function. It doesn't know about the Sankey charts. You know, it's not going to help me with that.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. ChatGPT is very super hot subject in this moment in the global perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tim, I have a question for you about this. When we are in consultancy and when we talk to the end users, we realize the problem of data literacy gap.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah,
it's huge, and at the same time we have the generative AI. So for me, it's kind of weird, one world where these two things coexist. We have people that don't know how to use a scatter plot, and they have access to a generative AI. And I would like to ask you, do you think the generative AI will increase the gap of data skills or decrease the gap between people?
Great question.
I don't think it will do either of those. I think it raises the ceiling and raises the basement at the same time. Does that make sense? So you're saying it's going to close the gap. I don't think so. I think this is the basement, this is the ceiling. If anything, it's going to do that. Yeah?
Exactly.
So it's going to lift everyone up at the same time.
Yeah. Everyone
it's going to lift you and me up because we can go into it and tell it, hey, can you write me a SQL script that will do this, 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 and this? And we look at that, we're like, yeah, that's it.
I use for SQL all the time.
And for the everyday data analyst who's never going to write SQL, who doesn't know what a pivot function is, they can go in and say, hey, I have my data. Can you rotate it 90 degrees? And it knows what that means and it does it for them, right? That person is never going to model a data source, right? So they never need to know the SQL to do that. You, on the other hand, know exactly what SQL is, know exactly what you're looking for, and you know exactly what you're trying to do with it, and you're more specific.
I just don't know how to do one detail, but
the technical,
I know what's the task.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it's helping you reach the higher goal, and it's helping the people who don't have that high level of literacy to just come up a little bit, right? It's lifting everyone up equally. And I think that's why it's different. It needs intent. This is the thing I always say to people, like AI is not going to solve the problem because it needs a good question in the first place. And the biggest problem with data literacy is how do you ask a good question? It's not how do you read the chart, it's how do you ask a good question? Because if you ask a good question, reading the chart comes after that, right? What were the top sales in my country? That's the question. And then you go and seek the answer, right? Same thing. When you find the answer, you ask the next question. It's not the other way around. It's not that you tell people, go find the top country. Right? That doesn't happen. You don't open a dashboard and it tells you what to do. You open a dashboard and it's on you to ask it what to do. So intent is the biggest thing.
Yeah. No, nice.
Newton, do you want to contribute to the next?
Yeah, okay, definitely. We can continue. And Tim, Regarding this question, basically, ChatGPT is, as we know, is very interesting in some perspectives, right?
Yeah.
And we have some opportunities to include this feature in the product Tableau,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're
Mm-hmm.
talking now about the Tableau GPT and the Tableau Pulse, and
Yep.
of course the code interpreter in the
Yeah.
Tableau. What
Yep.
do you think about this feature and how this can impact in the future or in the present? You know?
This is the
In
best
addition,
question.
are
This
you
is the
really
best
interested on
question.
it?
This is the best question I've been asked in a while, because no one has asked me this question, and I kind of wanted someone to ask me this question. Because
Yeah, let's.
let me start by saying this: Tableau
Yeah,
haven't released anything,
Yeah.
okay? But
Yeah.
as you're talking like it's been released, you're talking like you know what it does, and you're talking like you've seen the code interpreter do what you think it's going to do, right? So this is the first time I think there's been this much confidence behind something in the product before we've seen any of it. We've not even had a play. There's no beta. There's no pre-release. There's nothing, right? So I'm very cautious. When I made my videos about conference, I was talking about what's coming, and I've not made a video since because I don't want to get people hyped, because it might come and it might be disappointing. It might come and it might be basic. It might come and we don't know, right? So number one, it's not been released, which means you and I can't really talk about what it's going to do,
yeah, definitely.
right? So
I watched yesterday one product demo.
yeah.
It seems like a pre-release, how to use it, and
Are you
I
sure you
don't.
saw a product demo, or did you see a Figma animation?
Yeah.
No, it was a product. It
Yeah,
was a product. Really, it was.
yeah. Nice
Well,
So
question, Tim.
let's just say this: I've seen what I believe to have been product demos that I've been
Yeah,
told afterwards were UI UXs built in Figma.
perfect.
Yeah. So I don't
it's
believe
okay.
it until I have access to it. That's basically it, right? Like until I do a video on it saying, hey, this is Tableau 24.1, and in this release, Tableau GPT. Let's check it out. Until I say that, it doesn't exist. Okay. Now,
Yeah,
secondly, people are expecting too much too quickly. If you look at ChatGPT, it's died down a bit, hasn't it? We've all gone on there and got it to do text. I was like, but has it replaced people's jobs? Not really.
No,
It's
no,
just
that.
increased the
yeah.
amount of crap that everyone's putting out, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
and
Actually,
so it's going to take 2-3 years for this technology to really be refined and get into a place where I think it's useful. And so Tableau have to get into this now. And I have to give Tableau some credit to say Tableau started this journey with something called Ask Data, and everyone dunked on Ask Data for a really long time. And they said, oh, this is crap. And then ChatGPT comes out, and what is everyone doing? Typing questions and asking information about data. So it clearly wasn't a bad idea. What was wrong was the execution, and the execution was hindered by the technology. And the technology could only come about because of an investment that ChatGPT has made. And now the GPT 3.5 model is open source. Now everyone can get on it, but someone had to make that $1 million investment into training the model, and Tableau was never going to be that company. So let's wait for it to come out. I also want to see what Microsoft Fabric does. There's been a lot of talk about that.
I watched.
A lot of
I watched
yeah,
it.
yeah.
yeah.
There's
We
been a lot of
watched
talk
about.
about that. There's been a lot of talk about typing something in, and boom, a Power BI dashboard comes up.
Yeah,
Again, that is all talk. I haven't seen it. I've not seen Baz from How to Power BI show me how to do it. I've not seen Guy in the Cube show me how to do it, right? Until they show me how to do it, I don't believe it.
yeah. And Tim,
And then
I've watched it. Sorry, continue.
no. Basically,
No.
my
I think
comment.
Tim was answering. Sorry, Tim. Continue.
I
Yeah,
was just going to say, and the final thing to that ChatGPT point is that I think it's way more complex than we make it out to be. Companies don't even have governance. They don't even have data models. They don't, it's just so many things you have to solve before you even
as the
think
whole,
about
right?
Semantic
bringing,
layer.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
a funny image I saw, which is like this is a CEO, and then
I
this
know.
is OpenAI, and they're taking a step from the bottom of the stairs to the top, and they're
Yeah.
skipping out like 15 steps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That all has to
Or-
happen.
They skip the like data engineer, data quality,
Yeah.
data
Yeah.
data
This is the
literacy,
challenge.
Yeah.
and go to
Yeah,
generate.
yeah, big challenge.
Exactly. And I think that's where, to be honest, most companies are. It's only really the Googles, the Facebook, the big companies with really modern data stacks that can take advantage of this stuff. And guess what? They're the ones selling the same product, Google Bard and OpenAI and Microsoft, right?
Yeah,
So they're kind of talking about themselves. I think we're 5 years before, the businesses you and I work for are using this day in, day out.
so basically, if I understand and correctly, uh, do you consider generative AI as a game changer or no? Just to clarify to our audience.
That's fair.
Inside the
Yeah,
tool.
in the tool, right? In the Tableau.
Inside the tool, absolutely, because I think it can simplify. I did a video on Code Interpreter.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, if you could have the capability that I saw in Code Interpreter in Tableau in any way or form, that to me is the biggest
Amazing, right?
milestone improvement in the product in years. Because for the first time, someone can type a question without a chart and just get the answer. That's all dashboards are supposed to solve. Dashboards are like a middle ground. Dashboards are a middle
Yeah.
ground to that. Like,
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Do you think people like dashboards?
No.
I like.
No. Let's
I got
be
it.
be honest with
I
me.
got
Be
it.
honest with
Yeah, I
me.
got it.
Do
Yeah.
people like dashboards?
They're
No.
more
They like the
complaining about
results.
stuff.
They
Yeah.
like the results and the insights that might come in through the dashboard, not the dashboard itself. This dashboard
They like the
itself.
outcome, not the dashboard. Exactly.
No.
So if you can get to the outcome without the dashboard, isn't that better? Without having to wait for someone to build it. Don't forget, in my video, all I did was I typed the question. I didn't go, "Hey, data engineer, can you stand me up a viz and create me permissions in Tableau? And can you also make sure I'm in the right project, I'm in the right folder, and I have data source permissions to be able to well, what are we talking about here? Like
The Saints.
it's huge. Now, yes, there's governance, yes, there's security, yes, there's stewardship, yes, there's a bunch of curation stuff. But if that is done well, which Tableau can do very well, I think, I just don't understand why so many people were replying to my video saying, "No, dashboards will still be around." No, I just don't think they will. Like this, like you and I all help people in our everyday lives, and if you brought that to them. And they could, instead of asking you to build a chart that showed them the change in sales last month, they could just ask that question themselves. Of course they take it, yeah?
It's completely different, right? About asking to create a chart than asking for the response.
Yeah.
So what is the total sales of my country? Instead of, use the sales and sum it and then create a bar chart, sorting by sales. Yeah, it's completely different. So.
Yeah, you and I will still use Tableau. We're data explorers. We're kind of using it for exploratory analysis. We're trying to solve really complex questions that need LODs, that need different, that kind of stuff. Of course, dashboards will still be around. Really bespoke, precise questions. But let me ask you this: if you work in retail, if you work in banking, if you work in finance, if you work in anything that sells a product, all you care about is how did I do versus last month. Right.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. And just 2 cents for my side, my conclusion always is basically the end user basically needs the Excel file to work, because in the end, basically the question always is, okay, we can export this to Excel.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone always wants it in Excel. I think that's where Tableau can really show off its capability. This is why I don't know if this is the most under talked about feature announced at conference, and that's because it doesn't exist yet. I know I said don't get excited about things that don't exist, but VizQL data service is, in my opinion, the biggest thing announced at conference, and no one's talking about it. I know this much. VisQL data service is what's enabling Tableau Pulse. VisQL data service is how Tableau GPT will be able to build responses for different people. VisQL data service is an API that developers can use to do exactly the same thing. VisQL data service is going to allow Tableau to go to places that I think it's never been able to do before, beyond the dashboard, beyond the chart, beyond the view, beyond the viz, whatever you call it. And I think that's super important. We get carried away with the lovely things like Tableau GPT, but again, it's the technology that allows you to do that in the first place that's super important.
Yeah, nice. And let's take question from my side in the question, because now I am talking directly about this. Okay, you mentioned about the Microsoft Copilot in the Power BI. Yeah,
it's not quite it's not quite Copilot,
it's the
but
Fabric.
yes, Microsoft call all their AIs Copilot, but Copilot is a tool in GitHub specifically. But in the future, Microsoft Copilot will be a tool in all their products, so Office, Word, Power BI, and everything. Yes.
Yeah. But in this subject still, what your perspective? What are you thinking about the comparison between Power BI and Tableau in this way? Do you have any opinion?
I do. Someone, I was working for a client today. I can't name them. I was working for a client today, and I got an email, and it was from their IT team. And the IT team was saying, we're really pleased to announce that Power BI is now available to all staff in the company. This is a powerful tool you can use to take insights and analytics. And I was like, interesting. And because I was like, I thought this company uses Tableau. And then I scroll down the email, and it goes, does this tool take away from other tools? And it says, no. Power BI is available to everyone in the company. It's free, and it's available on your machines today. Tableau requires a license and is available on request. MicroStrategy requires a license and is available on request. So here's the thing. They're giving away Power BI and they're licensing Tableau. What that tells you is that the relationship the user has with Tableau is of higher value because they have to ask for it, they have to have a need, and there has to be a business use case to support that license. On the flip side, you're just giving Power BI away, okay? And yes, it's still good, but what kind of relationship are you likely to have if you're just giving the product away? Not a very good one, right? And so what then happens when it comes to the community? What then happens when it comes to supporting those users? What then happen when some of those users want training? You've sort of deployed it in so many different places that you don't know where the help is needed. So on one hand, Microsoft's strategy has been to use its stature and its scale as Microsoft to put Power BI in as many places as possible. Why? Because they're more interested in selling you Azure data service, right? They're interested in selling you the cloud capabilities of Azure. And they do that by giving you Power BI. You start to use Power BI a little bit more. You start to use Power Automate. And they start to tell you there's this thing in Azure that can solve this problem. And part of Fabric is like, hey, there's this one lake thing with zero copy infrastructure. So if you build a Power BI report and you want it to refresh, guess what? It doesn't have to move your data center. It can just stay in your data center with instantaneous refreshes. And people are looking at that and go, wow. And then they're like, great, but I have Tableau. And they're like, yeah, but Tableau is not a database. And then you're like, maybe if we went to Microsoft SQL Server in OneLake, we could just use Power BI and we could have all this stuff. So you start to see how this dynamic starts to change.
It's their strategy.
Yeah. And so it's weird because Tableau is only competing on this data visualization, analytics, governance piece, but Microsoft is competing on a whole nother level, much bigger play. And it allows them to take risks in different ways. I think it's the biggest risk to Tableau, definitely, because when you've got a company that can, buy Activision for $7 billion, just like that, The same company that's putting Power BI in everyone's desktop is also the biggest owner of Call of Duty. I mean, can you that says everything you need to know. They're interested in the cloud, and they're interested in people's time and attention. Salesforce has to step up. It's not enough for them to invest what they're investing in. They have to step up, and they have to show that they're going to defend Tableau's presence in the enterprise by equally enabling Tableau to build experiences that maybe don't have databases or cloud infrastructures, but do perform very, very well. And I think Tableau's doing that. There's only two tools that everyone talks about. It is Tableau and Power BI. When I started learning Tableau, it was not Tableau and Power BI. It was Click, Business Objects,
and MicroStrategy.
And MicroStrategy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like in 10 years, they've really achieved a lot, and it's important to recognize that.
Yeah.
Their challenge is to stay relevant for the next 10 years.
Exactly. We can
I have a thought about this as well. I think when you deliver Power BI in everyone machines, you are allowing everyone to connect the data and make analysis. But what about share? What about interact? You need a license for do that.
Yeah, correct.
So the problem is, if you are in an organization that do not see the value of data governance and so on, for them, this is not an issue. So in my view, Tableau is a product that is tailored for organizations that are trying to achieve the digital transformation and the data-driven journey.
Data enablement.
Otherwise, I think other products are more cost-effective.
Yeah.
If you are just building things for you, I'm pretty sure that Power BI is a better solution because in terms of cost is lower, and for that specific purpose, build something just for you, it goes very well, except the part that DAX is a little bit complicated compared to Tableau language. I don't even know if Tableau have a language, but anyway.
Not yet.
That's my thought about. I think Tableau. The good use of Tableau is trying to give everyone a chance to answer their own question. That's the promise of the product.
Yeah, the vision.
Do you work for Tableau Marketing by any chance?
Yeah.
I read so many times for certifications that I internalize things.
That's funny, right? Because that's a sign of a good brand. They teach you what to say about the brand, right?
Yeah.
And at the beginning, you were talking about why is the Tableau community so strong? Well, there you go. The brand is the cult loyalty within the brand has got you talking like the brand, right? You don't see a Porsche owner talking badly about their Porsche because they own one, right? Like, so maybe you're a bit biased, but yeah,
totally clear. I agree.
Tim, before we end here, can you tell us if Tableau or Power BI, which one is more used in Europe? Do you know about
Which one do I use?
No, which one is more used?
More commonly used.
The market share.
In my world, it's Tableau. But
in UK,
let's clarify this a little bit more, because just think who you're asking. Like, I don't get sent into Power BI places, do I?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, it's just not gonna happen. So even in my line of work, you're not like, I might have to go and build something in Power BI, but that's not my skill set, is it? It's quite clearly Tableau. So I don't think I'm a good person to ask, because I think by virtue of my presence in the community, I think it's always better to put me in front of a Tableau client. Simple as that.
No, nice.
Good. Yeah, it makes sense.
We can feel this.
We are going to the final question of this beautiful conversation. Marcelo, do you want to ask the last question?
Yeah, the last question is really, really simple. We just would like to know if you have any questions about Brazil or anything about to say about Brazil. And why this is the final question is because My passion, when I start contributing for the community, was to bring more visibility for other countries, but of course more for Brazil, because we have a lot of great talents here, and we don't think we are a really big community yet. We can improve this. We can be one of the biggest community because we are a really huge country.
Yeah.
We have a lot of opportunities about using Tableau more and more.
Yeah.
So this is our fight today, right? So improve the Brazilian community and bring the others community together. That's why we're having this call.
Yeah.
So do you have anything to say about Brazil or to Brazil?
Yeah, I think to Brazil, as it were. I think one of the interesting things about the community is culture, and I think something I see a lot in my data videos, and something I see a lot in my just understanding of Tableau, is that because the majority of the Tableau product is consumed in the Western world, it, although Tableau is quite representative of the world, there is not enough of representation of certain types of cultures just because of where the product is made and where the product is bought. If you look at things like certification is always a good example, right? There's a set price, it's set in dollars for certification, but not everyone in the world works in dollars, right? As a good example. So what I'd say to Brazil is make your voice well known, and really make sure that your champions within Brazil are well known to the community. By that, I mean, get behind them, support them. If you're watching this video, you should be getting behind Marcello, Salo, and Nilton and making sure you amplify their voices, because only by amplifying their voices do they find more people in Brazil. It's kind of a weird thing, right? If I'm shouting in the forest and no one's around me, what use is it? But if I'm shouting in the forest and there's 10 other people who hear me, they know where to go, right?
Yeah.
And so you need to amplify your voices so more people can find you and know where to go to get help, specifically in your country. And I think you can be brave, as I'll say this to you guys now. You should take one of my new feature videos and just re-record it in Brazilian, right? Whatever language you want, right? That makes your audience, Portuguese. And you could just take whatever, all of these things that have worked. If you've seen a video from Andy and you think, oh, that's works, I think this is going to be really useful. Just message Andy and say, Andy, could we re-record this in another language? Would you be okay with that? And just say yeah, and then you credit Andy, you give Andy the credit. He could even put it on his YouTube channel in that language. It doesn't matter whatever it works. Just increase your reach and don't worry too much about this sort of engagement stuff that you need from it. Just find more ways of getting your content out there.
Amazing.
That's
amazing.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you. It's
Thank
basically
you.
all about support and collaboration, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to say, Tim, thank you, because the first time I come up with this idea, I talked to Newton. I said, Newton, what about we talk to Tim, because he is so gentle. So there is a chance he answer our request to record a podcast with him. And to be honest, I was not so confident, because I think Tim have so many things to do. I know he's a dad. I am dad of two kids as well, and I know he runs a company. I know he have his main work and also the content creation, a lot of things. So it will be complicated for him to find out a time for us. But I get impressed, and when you answered and you just said, let's find a date, and I said, I can't believe that, because I don't have a so strong relationship with him. I reached to Tim in the past to ask to get some advices about career and content creation, and he was very kind with me. And so thank you, Tim. The reason we brought you here is we believe that since we are trying to improve our community, I believe that the best we can do is bring to that community the best quality. So best quality in the world. And one problem that we have in Brazil is we are in Latin America, but all the Latin America countries, almost all, speak Spanish and we speak
Yeah.
Portuguese. And something funny about Brazil is uh, most of the population of Brazil lives
On the coast.
on the coast, and the
Right.
Yeah.
Latin American countries are on the other hand side.
Yeah, there's a big
Exactly.
mountain region right in the
So
middle, right?
Different.
yeah, there is a lot of people. I personally, I came from the north of the country, so I am an exception. Let's say an exception in statistical terms. Uh, so we have this problem because when people create things for Latam, we've we are not
You're kind of not part of that. Yeah.
100% part of that because they
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so and also we don't speak English. Most of professionals don't speak English.
Right.
And the reason we brought you here is we will include the translation using ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we're gonna use ChatGPT to generate a good translation of that conversation, and then we can
Yeah.
bring to the community the best that the data fund have. And I believe you are a good representation of Tableau community. I believe you are a good example for people that are trying to improve their career, trying to
Nice.
make more money, because we know people are trying to move on and try
Yeah, move their
to
jobs. Yeah.
improve their
Yeah.
lives, and
Growing
you
the
are
career.
creating
Life.
content for that. And I believe
Exactly.
if everyone in Brazil, in our community, watch your videos, they're gonna be in a good path to the success.
Yeah.
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 So
Thank you. I
thank you,
appreciate
team.
it. No worries.
Yeah. Great.
I don't need to applaud. Please.
Yeah. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
Very
you
nice,
guys for
team. Very
you guys are
nice.
doing the hard work here. You're hosting me. You're building a community. It's easy for me to make a piece of content and talk to myself in front of the camera. It's harder to reach out, to get some time between four people, have a presence, trying to build the community. That's so much harder. So
Yeah.
no, thank you to you guys for having me.
Yeah. And the thing, just to share with you in my perspective, this is a historical day to us. Principle because we can share together
Yeah.
and meet the different point of view.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very nice. It's very nice.
Yes.
As I say to the guys here in Brazil, we are building a great big networking of the professionals in the data,
Yeah.
Tableau as well, of course. But the people is the reason.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Such a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
It's why I exist. So never a doubt. And maybe in a year I'll come back again and we do it live in Brazil somewhere. I'll come over or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I think that's the number one thing. To really understand the community, you have to go there. So if you can have a live event, maybe I'll set this as a challenge for you. Try and create one in-person live event somewhere like this podcast with 50 people in the room. It might start with 10, but start with 10. The year after it's 50. That's how Tableau started, actually.
Yeah.
Back in San Diego, the first Tableau conference only had 20 people, right? And then it was 200.
Nice.
Then it was 400. Then it was 1,000. Then it was 10,000, right?
8,000.
Then people
8,000.
hear the
Oh,
words, right?
18,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
18.
So
I attend to Tableau conference in New Orleans, and guys,
18,000,
I got amazed by that.
Yeah.
18,000 people in Iron
Oh my
Viz.
God.
In Iron Viz. So imagine
just
that.
on Tableau. Yeah.
Huge.
So
Okay,
do a live event. I'll try and I'm going to make an effort next year to travel more places. So maybe if our paths collide again, then
Me
if
too.
I'm nearby, I'll come and say hello.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
that would be
It's the
nice.
time.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Maybe we can combine to meet in the next Tableau conference. I don't know.
Yes,
Let's
exactly.
see.
Exactly. Let's do this
Let's see.
again next year.
San
Tableau
Diego,
conference.
is it?
Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not, guys?
maybe.
Why
Yeah, I
not?
don't have a passport yet, but
Do you have more time? You have
Yeah.
more time to do this.
Yeah.
You have time. Figure it out.
Cool.
Team, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Absolute
Bye.
pleasure.
Have a great day and bye bye.
Bye.